Tom Coughlin starts his 11th season with the New York Giants, and Doug Marrone, who coached at Syracuse 2 years ago, is in his second year with the Buffalo Bills. A couple of New York guys. Marrone, born in the Bronx, and of course Coughlin, no stranger to Syracuse University. The New York Giants are going to receive the opening kickoff. That is Dustin Hopkins, who will kick off for the Buffalo Bills. And Quentin Demps, in his 7th year in the league, and he has been around, is back to return the kick, standing in the end zone. And from the 35-yard line, they moved the ball up there last year, resulting in far fewer runbacks, and that is the way this preseason will begin, with the touchback and the ball at the 20-yard line. Let's take a look at the Giants right now, at least at the beginning of the game. Rashad Jennings comes over from Oakland. Hynoski is the fullback. Then you've got Cruz and Randall outside. Donnell is the tight end, trying to win the starting job there. Up front, it's Brown, Schwartz, Walton, Mosley, and Pugh, and that is a totally revamped offensive line. Snee has retired, so has Deal. Boss is gone, and so they've got to restructure, regroup, and somehow protect Eli Manning. As you look at his numbers last year, probably the worst of his career, 27 interceptions. From the 20, on first down, the new offense, as Chris mentioned at the top of the show, guided by Ben McAdoo. And it's a quick drop and a quick throw to the outside, intended for Jernigan, and it's incomplete. Corey Graham covering on the play, and it will be second down.
Well, the one thing you're going to see out of the New York Giants tonight is they're going to want to play with a little pace. They're trying to pick it up on offense. Ben McAdoo coming over from Green Bay. Of course, you've seen Aaron Rodgers running this style of offense for a long time now, and they feel like that they can, with their pace, put some more pressure on the defenses.
Jennings is the running back. And Jennings at Oakland last year, he'll get stuffed in the backfield. Nigel Bradham coming over to make the tackle, loss of a couple, and it will be third and long.
Well, the Buffalo Bills struggled a season ago trying to stop the run, but you'll see number 51 in the middle and recognize that name, Brandon Spikes, formerly of the New England Patriots. You want to stop the run, bring the best run-stuffing linebacker in the game today into your football team, and it's going to make a difference. Attitude alone from Brandon Spikes enough to bring him here.
And a new defensive coordinator, Jim Schwartz, former head coach at Detroit. Now the defensive coordinator is Jennings, takes the quick flip and takes it after the 25-yard line. So the Giants begin with a 3-and-out in a game in which we don't figure to see that first unit for more than a few more plays. There is Jim Schwartz, a long time at Tennessee. Then he wound up in Detroit, had some success there, but was gone after last year. And then when Mike Pettin left Buffalo last year as the defensive coordinator to become the head coach at Cleveland, it opened up that job for Schwartz. Steve Weatherford is the Giants punter, and he's able to take the low snap off the ground and gets away a very good and deep kick that goes out of bounds at the 16-yard line. Let's take a look right now at the Bills offense. C.J. Spiller and Fred Jackson split time at running back. Summers is the fullback. All eyes on Sammy Watkins, the great rookie receiver from Clemson. Williams comes from Tampa Bay. Smith trying to win a spot at tight end. Henderson is a rookie out of Miami, so he is the left tackle. Williams, a former #1 pick of the Bears. Wood, Urbick, and Pierce up front for Buffalo, a running team last year. After a 58-yard Weatherford punt, the ball is at the 17-yard line for Buffalo's first offensive play. Handed off to C.J. Spiller for a very short gain. Last year, Manuel was their #1 draft choice, and he started on opening day, but he got hurt during the season. He wound up starting a total of 10 games. Not bad. He had a decent rookie season. 11 touchdowns and 9 picks. 4-6 was his record, but they have put a lot of chips in his pocket. E.J. Manuel at 6'4" and 237, played his college football at Florida State, and guns one over the middle, and that's caught. It will be very close to a first down. Lee Smith, the tight end. Their #1 tight end is Scott Chandler, but he's not in uniform tonight. And it will be a first down.
Well, we're going to be watching Jason Pierre-Paul, and he's matched up tonight against a rookie, and Chantrell Henderson on the left side. Cordy Glenn out with an undisclosed illness. Pretty good by Henderson right off the bat. A young man with a lot of talent. Michelle will tell us more about that a little bit later.
On 1st and 10, Manuel protected well, and he's going deep for Sammy Watkins, but it's incomplete. Prince Amukamara hanging right with him. Take a look at the Giants' defense. Not bad last year. They've also added some real quality players this year. Talked about Pierre Paul and Hankins and Jenkins up front in the middle. Kiwanuka, of course, can switch back and forth between end and linebacker. You've got Kennard, a rookie out of USC whose father played a generation ago with the Dallas Cowboys. And then Amukamara with Stevie Brown, who's healthy this year. Roll is the veteran. And they added Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie in the offseason from Denver. They also got Walter Thurmond as a nickelback from Seattle. Ball is handed to Fred Jackson. Swinging to the outside, and Amukamara is able to force him out of bounds after a gain of 6.
So interesting watching Fred Jackson on tape getting ready for this game. Of course, if you're going to compare highlight reels, C.J. Spiller is the guy that's going to dominate in that category. But Fred Jackson does everything well. And probably the number one reason that I like him so much is the way he finishes runs. This guy has a way of turning 3-yard runs into 6-yard runs by simply not going down and driving his legs. He is a pro's pro.
3rd down and 3 now from the 34-yard line. And that is knocked down at the line of scrimmage. Kiwanuka got his hand on it. And so the Giants force a Buffalo punt, 3:15 into the game.
Well, Matthias Kiwanuka, big pressure on him this year because Justin Tuck is now playing for the Oakland Raiders. They know what Jason Pierre-Paul should be able to deliver, but they are searching for another pass rusher on that other side. 6 sacks a year ago. He needs to up that total for the Giants to be good this year.
Brian Moorman is the punter. It's his 14th season in the National Football League. And running up to make the fair catch is Jernigan at the 25. No score as we go to the first commercial of the 2014 season. That was the scene yesterday. Andre Reed, Marv Levy, Michael Strahan, Jay Glazer were right there. That was the scene before the game tonight, just after the introductions of the Hall of Famers. You saw Strahan in the middle of the Giant huddle and Reed in the middle of the Buffalo. Oh, he is
the #1 draft pick.
He's something.
Gonna stomp them out. That was his phrase.
That was the parade yesterday that you saw on tape. And a little swing pass goes to Jennings, and Jennings with a nice slip move takes it for a gain of 9. Aaron Williams, the safety, makes the tackle. It'll be 2nd down and 1.
Little screen pass out to Rashad Jennings, who is going to be the #1 back probably going into this season. Comes over from the Oakland Raiders, their leading rusher a season ago. And we see a little bit of that pace now.
And this time he gets banged at the line of scrimmage, and that's Mario Williams, who was the #1 overall pick in the draft back in 2006 when Houston picked him. And everybody in Houston wanted Reggie Bush picked in that spot, but it was Williams who eventually winds up in Buffalo.
This is a tremendous defensive line, and the best player on it, Mario Williams. But 3 guys on this defensive line with 10 sacks or more a season ago. Generated a lot of interceptions on the back end, too.
3rd down and 2. And Manning rolls to his right, and then getting the first down is Jennings, able to slip by and pick up the first down. So the marker moves the chains. Let's take a look at that Buffalo defense, such as it is tonight. Kyle Williams and Mario Williams, each with double-digit sacks last season. Spikes comes over from New England. In the middle, Rivers was a Giant last year, and before that a Bengal, and now without a huddle, Eli comes to the line. And he goes to the near side where Jernigan makes the catch. Tackled there by Aaron Williams.
Well, one of the things they're doing differently this year is they're getting not plays called in to Eli Manning, but families, as they call it. So it's a group, it's a run, it's a pass, it's a option off of that, and then they get to the line of scrimmage, and a little bit like his brother Peyton Manning, then that's when the fun and games start. So if he gets what he wants, he runs the play. If not, he'll back out, little hand signal, and change everything.
2nd down and 5. And Manning under pressure. It's sacked, loses it, flag is down, the first penalty of the game, and the Buffalo Bills, for the moment, will take possession of the ball. Keith Rivers is the guy who recovers the fumble. It was stripped by Kyle Williams, but there's a flag down on the other side of the field at the line of scrimmage. Walt Anderson.
The ruling on the field was a fumble recovered by Buffalo, holding number 67 offense. The penalty is declined. First down, Buffalo.
That's the right tackle, Justin Pugh.
Well, it starts with pressure from Jerry Hughes, and then it is Kyle Williams, a defensive tackle with 10-plus sacks last year, and you see exactly why. He is like a rock rolling down the side of a mountain. Very difficult guy to try and block, and comes up with the first big play of the game.
And so for the Giants, it was a 3-and-out, and now a sack, fumble, and a recovery. The ball is at the 22-yard line. And Manuel going for the end zone, one-on-one, and it's incomplete. Intended for Mike Williams, covered by Amu Kamara. Mike Williams picked up in the offseason in a trade with Tampa Bay.
Well, there's Mike Williams on the outside, and the officials this year are going to start calling this a lot closer. I thought we might get a call, hand on the back, but no push. We have been told that these officials now, illegal contact is going to be strict at 5 yards. The hands and the pushing by the offensive players is going to be strict, but I thought that was a good no call.
2nd and 10, the ball is at the 22-yard line. And a quick throw to the outside, and that is Williams who gets by Amu Kamara and will pick up the first down. So Amu Kamara almost had him at the line of scrimmage, and then Williams able to sprint away and move the chains.
Yeah, it's one of the dangers when you get a big, strong wide receiver. It's one thing to be able to cover them. It's another thing to be able to tackle them. And Williams is a big, strong guy, and a little too much for Prince Amukamara on that one.
Under 9 to go in the quarter. Fred Jackson is now the running back on this 73-degree and cloudless night in Canton, Ohio.
There you go. 6 right, 6 right. 5-5-3. Charge. Cut.
And Jackson, taken down at the line of scrimmage, is the oldest running back in the National Football League. It'll be 2nd and 10.
Like this big guy here, Jonathan Hankins out of Ohio State right here. They say he has probably been one of the standouts so far in camp, and you see a little bit why there. Big guy with good power, just could not be cut off at the line of scrimmage, and really the defensive tackles for the Giants so far has been the strength of this defense.
Yeah, Linval Joseph is gone now. He's in Minnesota. Of course, Justin Tuck, the defensive end, is now in Oakland, so not only a revamped offensive line but defense as well, and that's batted at the line of scrimmage, and that's JPP getting his mid on it. It will be 3rd down and 11.
Boy, that looks like a few years ago, doesn't it? Jason Pierre-Paul, when he first came in the league, I thought this guy was going straight to the Hall of Fame. He had a season, 16-plus sacks, 10, 11 balls batted down. He looked like just a true superstar in the making, and if he gets back to that form, the Giants have a real chance this season.
Right now, the only way to go straight to the Hall of Fame is across the parking lot. 3rd down and 11, and that pass is almost intercepted at the 10-yard line. That's Jaquan Williams, the linebacker, knocking it down, setting up a 4th down, and setting up the first scoring attempt of the game, which will be a field goal attempt by Dan Carpenter.
Right here, Jaquan Williams just going to read E.J. Manuel's eyes and get in front of it, just unable to haul it in. Pretty interesting linebacker group now for the New York Giants as well. When they get Jameel McClain and John Beeson and this new rookie Devon Kennard in there together, they're feeling pretty good about things.
Dan Carpenter, former Dolphin, had a good year for the Bills last year. This is a 30-yard attempt, and there are your first points of preseason. 7:53 to go in the opening quarter in Canton, with Buffalo up 3-0. And Michelle was talking about the 21st century, the tablets taking the places of the old photos. Well, there are photos too. You have your choice now. You have the photos. You can have the tablets.
You don't think there's any old school stuff with Tom Coughlin's team, do you?
No.
He's going to hang on to a few things.
No Morse code though. As that is down in the end zone for another touchback, and we're going to hear from Michael Strahan when we come back to the Hall of Fame game in Canton.
It was improbable. It was improbable. We couldn't beat an 18-0 team. We barely made it into the playoffs. It was improbable, but it was not impossible. So, not only did we win, we stomped them out.
And that was Michael Strahan last night. And what was the final speech of the evening? 141 and a half career sacks. He has the single season record. Won that Super Bowl all-decade team. And Michelle's going to visit with him in just a second as Eli Manning takes over the 20-yard line. Here's Jennings. No gain. Let's go to Michelle.
Thank you, Al, and congratulations. You can call this the best weekend of your life. What made it so?
Oh, man. Made it the best weekend every day of being around all these guys who built this game and being included and considered to be a Hall of Famer. It doesn't get any better. You can't buy yourself into this club. You can't charm your way in. You have to earn it. And to be around a lot of guys, all these guys who have earned it was special.
You spoke last night about what a privilege it was to play for the New York Giants, their great defensive tradition. What does it mean to you to represent all those guys you played with here in Canton?
It's incredible, and it's amazing when I see guys that I played with 15 years ago, the guys that I played with now. It's the same love, it's the same relationship, and it's just special. Once you're a Giant, you're always a Giant. You always feel welcome to come in the building. It doesn't matter what generation of team and guys I played with or haven't played with, there's always some connection, and that's because the Maras and the Tisches have done a great job of making it feel like a family and be a family, and I think that's why this franchise has success over all the years that they've had.
About the bust. The artist who sculpted your bust said, you know what, teeth never turn out well in bronze, but you wanted to smile. So when you unveiled it, did they get the gap right?
They got the gap right. One thing I learned, people very rarely mess up the gap. If they draw a picture of me, they make fun of me, the gap is always right. And, yeah, you see that? I see some signs up there showing the distance of my teeth. But it is, I wanted to smile because I played such a tough game, a tough sport, and when I had to be tough out there in the field, that's how I was. But a lot of times during the game, I was smiling, sideline smiling, encouraging, and that's who I am. It's my personality, so I didn't want to hide that.
Well, you know what else you didn't hide early on when Tom Coughlin became the head coach of this team? Safe to say you weren't on the same page. How did he finally win you over?
I think it was exercise for both of us, for both players and the coach, to realize you're either part of the problem or part of the solution. And we all wanted to be a part of the solution because we all wanted to win. That was the one thing we all had in common. We just had to find a way to communicate that better. And there was just understanding on both sides. That he became more of a, I'm not going to say a player's coach, but he listened, he understood. He had more of the humanistic side towards us. And in return, we relinquished and stopped caring about the rules and we're more focused on making him happy and running through a wall for him and letting him be our leader. And it has paid off in great ways.
Congratulations on everything.
Michelle, thank you.
You got it. Al, back to you.
All right, thank you, Michelle. Michael Strahan is something else. You've watched Andre Williams run the ball twice. There's after the Super Bowl and a season in which it looked like Strahan might retire before the season. But I think he just didn't want to go to training camp, shows up late. And, of course, that was the scene at the end of that amazing win over the 18-0 New England Patriots. The ball at the 44 for the Giants as Manning has stayed in, and they give the ball off to Williams. Meanwhile, Chris, how's in retirement, Michael Strahan, you can't miss him. Yeah, you got Kelly and Michael on ABC, on syndicated in the morning. He's on the Fox pregame show. He does commercials. He's in movies. He may have supplanted Howard Stern as the king of all media.
And he was brilliant with his speech last night. He included everybody. He was funny. Probably the highlight for me, though, was his little impersonation of Eli Manning in the locker room before the Super Bowl, and everybody's jumping up and down, and he sort of just stood very placid and looked out, and he goes, "You have a nice day, young man," out there. And so it was definitely fun. But Eli appreciates Michael Strahan more than anybody.
Oh, yeah, he was talking the other day about it as Jennings takes the ball close to a first down, tackled there by Preston Brown. The Giants leaving Manning in a little longer than they initially wanted to, but I think they wanted to just get something going after those first two series, and they've been able to do that here on the third.
Well, let's tell you what's going on. The first string offensive line of the New York Giants is in there, and the second string defensive line of the Buffalo Bills is in there, so they should be running the ball effectively, and they are. And we're seeing both the new running backs, Rashad Jennings and Andre Williams, look good so far this drive.
And again, it's the first string offensive line, but again, it's a line with Snee retired, with Deal retired, with Boss gone, with Beatty hurt. So that's a full mix and match here. Into the outside goes Jennings. Speaking of the running back situation, the Giants a couple of years ago, their number one pick was David Wilson. He had some fumbling issues last year, but also more importantly, neck issues. And he had an operation in the offseason. They were hoping that he'd be healthy. He goes to camp, but got hurt in practice last week, and now his future's totally in doubt.
Yeah, I found myself wearing two hats that day, an analyst hat when he got hurt and sort of a dad hat. I've seen my sons play football a long time, and when he sat stunned and his hands sort of twitching coming off the field, it was one of the more frightening things I'd seen.
And over the left side goes Jennings, looking good on this drive, tackled there by Searcy. Jennings with a gain of 12.
Well, you just follow the fullback, and usually good things happen. Henry Hynoski, I know the Giants are happy to have him back in action, and this offensive line now starting to get some movement, and I think that Tom Coughlin has gone to bigger backs this year. I really believe he wants to get back to big, strong, powerful New York Giants football on both sides of the line.
Needs to find another Brandon Jacobs. Andre Williams might be that guy. He is 5'11 and 230 out of Boston College. And over the middle, the pass is caught by Daniel Fells. The Giants still trying to identify who will be their opening day tight end.
And how many times have you seen this in Green Bay with Aaron Rodgers? Just a quick little turnout route by the tight end. You don't get pressure on your quarterback. Your completion percentage goes way up. They're looking for completions. They've gone so far as to say they want Eli Manning at 70%, which would be close to an NFL record. And so far you're starting to see some of those quicker deliveries from Eli.
A minute and a half left in the opening quarter. On the ground again, swinging to the outside with a lot of room, and there goes Andre Williams to the 3-yard line, setting up a first and goal. Paving the way was the fullback Hynoski. So Williams led the nation last year with 2,177 rushing yards. That's good for 21 here.
I absolutely love this young man, and I know they brought Rashad Jennings in here to be the number one back. I'm going to be surprised if you don't see Andre Williams at least splitting reps in the backfield. Ruben Randall down the field blocking. They say he has a much better attitude coming into camp this year, and I think that's a good thing.
And timeout is taken by the Buffalo defense with under a minute to go in the quarter. 3-0 Bills. Meanwhile, Williams is the back here on first and goal from the 3, and they're going to give it to him. And boy, you take a look at a guy like this, and you wonder how he lasted until the 4th round. Got a nice block again from Hynoski, and he goes to the touchdown.
Well, I'm just going to tell you what I see, and that is a young man that is very hard to tackle and a big-bodied guy. Hynoski going to lead again, but watch the little cut in the hole. Tremendous blocking up front. There really wasn't anybody to speak of there. But this young man, when you watch him, even in practice, he has a way of slipping tackles and making people miss. He's a load.
Well, you probably heard about the experiment, and this is the first of those. This is the extra point. They're going to move it back to the 15-yard lines, the line of scrimmage. In effect, this is the equivalent of a 33-yard field goal, and that is an extra point. So you have a choice of having the ball spotted at the 2 and going for 2, or kicking the extra point from the 15 as the line of scrimmage. It is good, and it's 7-3 Giants. And at the end of the first quarter here, look at the goalposts. Now they've extended the uprights again. They've gone from 30 feet to 35 feet. Before 1966, look at that, 10 feet. Then they went to 20 between 66 and 74. That wasn't high enough. Then between 75 and last year, 30 feet. That still wasn't high enough, and who knows if 35 is enough. Bill Belichick
wanted 150.
Well, especially
remember that
after
Baltimore game.
Of course,
yeah.
It was a Sunday night game. Ball went over the top of the goalpost, and Baltimore won the game. But it's 35 feet this year. It should make at least a little bit of a difference. And Jeff Toole, who is in his second year, played his college ball at Washington State in Palouse country. He's going to come into the game as E.J. Manuel is done for the night. Toole made one start last year in Week 9 against Kansas City because Manuel missed 6 games over 2 different stretches last year with knee injuries. And Anthony Dixon is the running back. And Toole will start by throwing deep, and T.J. Graham winds up playing the role of defensive back, and Amuka Mara covering on the play. It will be 2nd down and 10. So these teams are going to play 5 preseason games. There's been a lot of talk, of course, about shortening this preseason down to maybe 2. Instead, these guys go 5. What do you think the extra game will mean to these teams?
In this case, I think it's going to be a positive because on the Buffalo Bills side, you have a very young offensive unit. And for the New York Giants, you have a new offensive coordinator and a new style of play. It's going to take some work.
And that's caught by Robert Woods in his second year at the University of Southern California. Had a decent rookie season. It'll be 3rd down and 1 after a gain of 9. So Emmanuel is done for the night.
And one of the new New York Giants, Walter Thurman, coming over from the Seattle Seahawks in man coverage on the outside. And nobody's happier about that than Antrell Roll because he gets to get out of that slot on the outside. There's Chantrell Henderson against JPP. Again, doing the job.
Waning seconds of the first quarter. Nice catch is made by Robert Woods. So back-to-back plays to him. He'll take it to the 41 and will take us to the end of the first quarter. End of 1 in Canton with the score. Giants 7, Bills 3, and Sunday Night Football back after these messages.
I hope I inspire young punters to achieve their dreams to one day play in the NFL and maybe even be elected into the Hall of Fame. It's been a long, long overdue, but now the Hall of Fame has a complete team.
Ray Guy, the great Raider punter, becoming the first punter ever to go into the Hall of Fame. You'll hear from him very shortly. As we start the second quarter, it'll be 1st and 10 for Buffalo from the 41, and they set up a screen, and that's caught by Anthony Dixon, who came over from San Francisco, tackled by Jaquan Williams, and we go to Michelle.
Well, as you said, he's the only punter ever taken in the first round of the NFL draft and the first full-time punter inducted into the Hall of Fame. After all the years of waiting, after all the debate, what did it feel like to finally slip on that gold jacket?
It felt great, Michelle. I tell you what, I didn't really know how it would feel, and I've been talking to some of the former guys, you know, prior to the induction and all that, especially Chris Carter. And Chris was telling me, he said, you know, they're going to put you through a lot. You got to do a lot to get for the enshrinement. He says, but then when you wrap that gold jacket around you and button it up, it's like a magical transformation that has happened to you. Now you know that you are proud of the brotherhood of a very special organization, and that's the Hall of Fame. And that's the way I felt.
You really were the pioneer of hang time, and that's a skill that still dominates the game today. So how significant is it to you to have had such an impact on the sport?
Well, I don't know if I had an impact on it. I just, you know, shown what the height can do, basically. How I got it, I have no clue. It was just a God-given talent, the ability in my body to do certain things with the ball, and I guess make it bigger and better. So if I'm a pioneer at the art of hang time, which entitles the cover guys more time to get down, and punters and the youth and all that come along and do that, well, I feel honored with that, and I'll be proud to lead the way for them.
You said in your speech, there's finally a complete team in Canton, and there were 18 former punters in the crowd last night supporting you. What did that mean to you?
What it meant to me was, we finally had got a complete team because we did not have one. We had one player missing, which everybody knows that is a very intricate part of a game. It's very important. But it's a lot of times it's kind of pushed to the side, overlooked, and forgotten about sometimes until they screw up or something like that. But, that's to happen. But to have those guys, I didn't know about the guys coming in until about 3 weeks prior to this. And Jeff Gossett and God, I can't think of his name right now, but Jeff kept in touch with me and said, look, we got some old punters. We have gotten together, and they started this months ago. We put together a package where we're going to be there because you are an inspiration to what we've done. And I said, Jeff, I would love to see you because I know all of them. So anyway, but to make a long story, it was great.
Fabulous. Congratulations to you.
Thank you, dear, and I'll lead the way if I have to.
Al.
All right, thank you, Michelle. And he was introduced last night by John Madden as Chris Hogan takes it on the outside after a holding call. Resulted in a first down tackle by Thurman. I look at Ray Guy, and I've told you before, Chris, at ABC I used to do the Superstars and Super Teams, a lot of those shows, and the great athletes would come in. He came in one year. I thought he was the best athlete I'd ever seen in any of those shows. He could run. He could swim. He was the leader of the tug of war. In the golf thing, he hit it like 3 inches from the cup from 160 yards and bowled like 253. This guy could have been a decathlete.
You didn't do it the year I did the Superstars, right?
You were there, too. You were second. And this is Toole taking it himself inside the 30-yard line for a first down.
Well, this is going to be a part of the Buffalo Bills offense, this read option. You see it around the league. Colin Kaepernick, of course, with the 49ers. And guys want to crash down on that running back. The quarterback's more than willing to take off and do a little running, and all these guys can do it. Jeff Toole, one of the better athletes, really likes that part of the game. Of course, E.J. Manuel, very good at it as well.
Ball at the 27-yard line, 3 minutes into the second quarter. Giants on top as they drove 80 yards for a touchdown. And that is incomplete. Good tight coverage there by Zach Bowman on T.J. Graham.
Well, you talked about what a great athlete Ray Guy was, and I think the Super Bowl play that he made, you'll remember this one well. Sure. You just wonder how different this Super Bowl may have been if Ray Guy doesn't make this one-handed stab and in rhythm kick the ball. I mean, it just was one of the more remarkable plays, and you don't talk about remarkable plays from a punter very often, but that one's probably the top of the list.
Yeah, that was the Super Bowl in which Marcus Allen had that electric run, and the Raiders beat the Redskins. On second down and 10, inside handoff and a 12-yard burst by Anthony Dixon. And he signals a first down, which it is.
This is a Buffalo Bills offensive line that went from having not much depth to a lot of depth. And now here's Doug Legursky, former Steelers, up there playing center, leading the way. But they have 3 guys now that they drafted this season. So this team that had some question marks up front now is going to have battles in multiple positions. Really only 2 positions set at this point.
And going no huddle here, swinging it to the outside, where Dixon makes the catch and picks up a couple as Kennard makes the stop. Second down.
And it's going to be interesting to see what the Buffalo Bills do. Contract year for C.J. Spiller, Fred Jackson, 33 years of age. They brought in Anthony Dixon. You're getting a chance to look at him here. And Bryce Brown, you remember him out from the Philadelphia Eagles. His first 2 games there, 178 yards and 169 yards, and had some fumbling issues. But, are they going to re-sign him to a big contract? Talking about Spiller, can Bryce Brown and Anthony Dixon pick up the slack? It's a decision for this organization.
On second and 7, that pass is caught. Fighting for a first down is T.J. Graham, and he gets it with a lunge to the 5-yard line.
Pretty good looking play right there by T.J. Graham. John Hosley really all over him here, and looks like he's going to make the tackle short of the first down, and just no way. Graham knows he's out there fighting for a spot in this receiving corps that is much better this season. Of course, they went out and got the playmakers, Sammy Watkins and Mike Williams, and so it's going to be tough just to make this team.
Each of these teams went for a wide out in the first round. And then getting tripped up is Bryce Brown going to the outside. Kennard making the stop. Nathaniel Hackett, whose father, Paul Hackett, longtime assistant coach in the league, one time the coach of the USC Trojans, he was with Marone at Syracuse and came over here, so he's in his second season calling the plays.
8 years as a quality control coach, and there's Perry Fuel. He was defensive coordinator in Buffalo and started a run up there. They've made a lot of changes on the defensive side in Buffalo since he left.
Yeah, he was the interim head coach at the end of the season about 4 years ago, but then he was gone, and that pass is incomplete, intended for Graham, with Hosley right there covering on the play. It'll be third down.
Yeah, we talked about the depth of the Buffalo Bills wide receivers, but there is a lot of depth now for the New York Giants in their secondary, and already tonight I've seen a lot more man coverage out of them than I've seen in the past. Dominic Rodgers-Cromartie is one of the great corners in the game right now. Walter Thurman over from Seattle, Prince Amukamara, Zach Bowman comes over from the Bears. There is a lot of depth now that they didn't have a season ago.
And Tremaine McBride is pretty good
Absolutely.
too. Third and goal, and it's caught out in the flat by Dixon, but he'll get wrapped up, taken down by Spencer Adkins, and that will make it fourth down and goal. And it looks like they'll go for it because the field goal unit is not coming out onto the field.
Well, it's all about evaluations at this point in the season, and so what better way to evaluate than to put your players in a big situation on fourth down. Prime pick play position out of this formation.
And Toole will take a snap from shotgun, goes to the outside, and it's Robert Woods to the outside for the touchdown. Quick move to the sideline, and Woods is there, got position on Hosley, and takes it in for the score. So they go 80 yards in 15 plays.
I think Hosley was thinking the same thing I was, that he might get picked, and so he backed off the ball a little bit to try and avoid it, and they simply throw it underneath him. Nice play by Robert Woods. B.J. Manuel enjoyed that show. Good drive by Jeff Toole, and y'all still getting used to the fact they're kicking the extra point here from the 15.
Again, this is an experiment. So for the first 2 weeks of preseason, not counting this one, this is a game, an outlier game, the only one this week, and the next week and the following week. They'll keep the experiment going and see what happens and evaluate it as Carpenter boots the extra point, but it will not be used during the regular season, at least this season. 9 minutes to the half. Buffalo has the lead again, 10-7. Buffalo Bills on top, 10-7. As Dustin Hopkins kicks off, Preston Parker is back there, and that one goes through the end zone. Another touchback on a kickoff. And the Giants with Nassib coming into the game. Manning done for the night, 10-7. One of the finest guys I've ever met, Ralph Wilson, founding father of the American Football League, the founder of the Buffalo Bills. What a life he lived. And he died this spring at the age of 95 in the Hall of Fame. Kept the team in Buffalo all these years in the small market. R.I.P. Mr. Wilson. He was really something. Very athletic as well. Played tennis into his 80s. Lived a long and great life. And, of course, they'll honor him throughout the course of the season. A team that plays in Ralph Wilson Stadium. Ryan Nassib, who played his college ball at Syracuse under Marone, hands the ball off on first down. And Andre Williams tackled back at the 19-yard line. So the Bills are up for sale. And the question is, who's going to own them? There were 3 bids that came in last week. Russ Brandon is in charge of this right now, the president and CEO, along with Morgan Stanley taking the offers. There were 3 bids that came in, but the process is ongoing, and we're hearing there are other bids as well. And we'll get into that as we move along here with the second down and 11. Nassib on play action. And that pass is caught out past the 30. Larry Donnell making the catch. Of course, everybody in Buffalo is nervous because the Toronto group, that's Rogers Communications. It's the one with John Bon Jovi having an interest in it. Larry Tannenbaum, who runs the Maple Leafs in Toronto, and the Raptors as well. So everybody in Buffalo is nervous about that. Pegula, the owner of the Buffalo Sabres, the hockey team, is also involved. His bid was a little bit more than the bid of Donald Trump, who bid $1 billion for it last week. From the 32-yard line, going to the outside is Andre Williams, and Williams looking good tonight. All of a sudden, after 11 yards, Duke Williams decks him.
Well, Duke Williams very much in the hunt now because Jarris Byrd is off to the New Orleans Saints, and watch him come out of center field here and make this hit. You know what I think of Andre Williams already, and he went backwards. I'll bet you Andre Williams hasn't had that happen to him in a long time. On the outside, Marcus Harris with a pretty good block as well. That was some hit.
Hey, easy, easy.
Running back right now is the veteran Peyton Hillis. In his 7th year in the league. Played for Denver and Cleveland. Into the Giants, and massive throws, and that is caught. And taking it into Buffalo territory is Marcus Harris to the 31-yard line. Big gain. Gain of 25 for number 18.
Harris having a big game out here so far and working into man coverage. And one of the things that I really like about the throw here by Ryan Nassib, you're going to see he took a good long look at the go route down the sideline, justifiably did not like it, hung in there, came right back to his second read, and came up with a big play.
1st and 10 now at the 31-yard line. And Peyton Hillis to the 28. All right, we were talking about John Bon Jovi, and he's, of course, aware of the feeling right there. And there's the front page, which says, in letter, Bon Jovi vows to keep the team in Buffalo, declares his appreciation for Bills fans. Objective simple: to carry on the legacy of Ralph Wilson, make the Bills successful in Buffalo, where they have to stay for at least a few more years. There's an out after 6 years. It gets a little bit complicated, but first things first, as Peyton Hillis gets stopped at the line of scrimmage. So it's going to be determined probably in the next couple of months. The league will probably vote on the new ownership maybe in the middle of the season, and the question is, who will it be?
Yeah, and the ownership issue is completely separate from the issue of will they be able to move the team? Will there be stadium discussions in Buffalo? Yes, there will be, but the ownership will not be decided at all based on any discussions about moving the football team or not. But we have to remember, for Doug Marrone and his staff, they're under pressure to win now because new owners typically want new coaches.
Right, and Nassib, under pressure, is forced to get it away, and it's incomplete. And we're going to get Manny Lawson in there on the play. So it will be 4th down.
I talked to Doug Marrone about it, and he said, hey, come on, this is football. We understand that if we win, we stay. If we lose, we go. That's just the way it is for all players, all coaches. We try and control what we can control, and that's it.
Brandon McManus, a rookie, who has a shot to win the job over Josh Brown, and he can help his cause here with a 47-yard attempt. Weatherford will put it down, and the kick is good to tie the game. 4:58 remaining in the opening half. It's the Giants 10 and the Bills 10 in the Hall of Fame game.
I wanted the ball. That was my passion. I wanted the ball every single time. I wanted you to be proud of me and know that you can count on me at any time. You know our old saying, bro. 12 plus 83 always equals 6.
And there was Jim Kelly last night listening as Andre Reed made his speech. Buffalo wide receiver going into the Hall of Fame. The ball from the 20 as Buffalo begins this drive. At that spot, Anthony Dixon stopped for no gain, and back we go to Michelle on the field.
All right, well, Andre, it may have taken longer than you had hoped. This was your 9th year of eligibility. But what does it finally feel like to wear that gold jacket?
Michelle, it's like my goosebumps right now. It's one of this jacket is not choking me. It's just a tremendous feeling. You know, I share this not only with my family, but, you know, my teammates, you know, all of Buffalo, all of Western New York. They had a part in this over the last 9 years. So, you know, I share this with them.
You know, a lot of people think back about those Bills teams of the 90s, and they think of the 4 consecutive Super Bowl losses. But what do you remember most about those teams?
Just the resiliency and just why we were so good. Of course, people, you know, we did not win the big one, but I wouldn't trade those 4 wins for anything, 4 losses for anything with those guys, because they meant so much to me, and we love to play with each other. We love to go to battle every single Sunday with each other, and that's, you know, that's what the Buffalo Bills were about in the 90s. And we had a great coach in Marv, and, you know, Ralph Wilson, God rest his soul, was not here, you know, for this enshrinement ceremony, but he is here. And, you know, what he did for the NFL is documented. The NFL wouldn't be the NFL without Ralph. And, you know, I stand here as one of the guys that he played under and loved the city and just loved the team.
Well, someone who wanted to be here no matter what was Jim Kelly, and he said he wouldn't miss this for the world. So up there on that stage, what was it like to catch that one more pass from him?
That one more pass was probably the best pass he ever threw. I thought I was going to drop it, though, but no. Just, you know, 2-3 months ago, it was very iffy if he was going to be here or not. And, you know, he's just what Buffalo stands for, toughness and heart, soul. That's what he stands for.
Well, it was an incredible moment, and congratulations to you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Al?
All right, thank you, Michelle. And that's Parker running it back, 1986 through 96, 11 seasons. NFL records for completions and yards by a quarterback-receiver combination. And of course, during that period of time is when the Bills went to their 4 consecutive Super Bowls.
I never had a doubt in my mind that Jim Kelly would show up for Andre Reed. Jim Kelly, the fact that he came here, going through what he's going through right now, to be with his teammate, spoke volumes about the guy as a person. I've known Jim. I've played against him and his teams. We've played in each other's golf tournaments forever. He is one of the great fighters of all time, and God bless you, Jim. We're all praying for you and hope you recover really soon.
And stick around at halftime, because there's a great piece that we will run for you in regard to where Jim is these days. Marcus Harris up to the 33-yard line. So look at Ryan Nassib, 6'2" and 220. Played, as I mentioned before, for Marone when Marone was at Syracuse. He was picked in the 4th round. Curtis Painter was the backup to the durable Manning last year, but right now it looks like Nassib is ready to move into that number 2 spot. And up to the 37-yard line goes Peyton Hillis. Eli was in there for 3 series tonight. And 6 out of 7 for 43. Nothing happening on those first couple of possessions, but then he was able to get him down the field and get him onto the board.
They wanted 70%. He blew right through it in his first attempt with this offense. Yeah. So that's what they're looking for.
Coming up to the 2-minute mark before the first half. And they do get the snap away, and the catch is made and taken to the 46-yard line with a flag down by Marcus Harris. Been a pretty clean game tonight thus far. There's a look at one of the tablets on the sideline. Walt Anderson will be making the call here. And the 2-minute warning
there are
will
2 fouls
follow.
on the play, both by the defense. Holding number 30 and holding number 93, both on the defense. Both are declined. Result of the play is completed pass for first down. This is the 2-minute warning.
2-minute warning. 10-10 on your dial.
Do you think about dying?
I used to. If I would say I didn't, I would be lying to you. You hear the word, and you know it's going to happen one of these days. And I've said before, because somebody asked me if I was afraid of dying. I've never been afraid of dying, but the thing is, I have a lot more to live for.
And let's hope so. Jim Kelly here over the weekend, and at halftime, a really great piece on the former Buffalo quarterback. On 1st down and 10, Nassib to the outside, throws, but this will be a loss as the catch is made by Peyton Hillis. Stevenson Sylvester, that Steeler, making the tackle. 2nd down.
You know, one of the things that I really liked about Nassib coming out of college was that I thought he was a guy that would really fit a West Coast style of offense. Quick reads, able to go through progressions, deliver the ball quickly. And I've seen a little of that tonight. I like him in this offense.
Steps up in the pocket, and the pass is a little bit high and off the fingertips of Julian Talley, who played his college ball in Massachusetts with Victor Cruz. It'll be 3rd and 14.
There's Talley right here, just a little post, and a lot of receivers to try and work with. They just missed this one. A little contact right there, maybe threw the timing off of that one. But so far, Nassib, it looks much better than what he did a season ago. And remember, when you're going through all the draft stuff, you don't have time to learn anything about your offense. You're exhausted by the end of that process. This offseason completely devoted to learning.
3rd and 14, and that pass is incomplete again. Intended for Harrison. He got a little extra work, in fact, Nassib did this spring, because Manning had that ankle surgery the first time he's been under the knife.
That's exactly right. And so it was up to Nassib to basically take over the team. And because they had the new offense with Ben McAdoo, he gave him a little bit of an edge even ahead of Eli in learning the offense. But I think more importantly, it allowed his teammates to see that he could take control of the offense, and they feel a lot better about him.
Weatherford sending it down toward Mikel Roby, and it gets blocked. And the ball will go out of bounds at about the 38-yard line. Marcus Easley, I think it was Lawson who winds up with it, but the kick was blocked as Weatherford had pressure put on. Easley is the guy who comes in. And then you look at Tom Coughlin has that look, whether it's the Super Bowl or preseason.
Yeah, we're going to go all the way over here, and I think that is Easley. Is that Marcus Easley coming around there? Number 81?
Yep.
I think it is.
That is him.
That's a good way for Marcus Easley to make a football team. You make a couple of plays like that. Usually 3, 4, 5 spots reserved for top guys on special teams, and that one makes the highlight reel.
Well, he might have been their best special teams player last year. He proves it right there, and there's a screen pass set up on 1st down to Anthony Dixon to the 31-yard line for a gain of 7 as we tick down to a minute.
Good opportunity for Toole now in the hurry-up offense. Obviously not very far advanced with this at this point.
And Toole swings it to the outside. Chris Hogan, let's see where forward progress is marked. He's going to be a little short of the 1st down. A lot of Hall of Famers, the living members, taking a bus ride together to the hall for a group photo.
Michael Strahan's smile, biggest of all, sitting right there in the front row. Kind of interesting to see Chris Hogan there make that play, battling for the slot receiver position. He was a guy that was a lacrosse player at Penn State, came back and played college football only 1 year at Monmouth College, and now is very much a factor on this Buffalo receiving team.
3rd and 1. Toole throws, and that will move the chains as Hogan makes the catch.
I mean, he just didn't have much football knowledge when he came out for the team, but athletically they were like, wow, this guy can do everything. So it's taken him a little bit of time to develop as a receiver, but I was watching him in practice the other day. Very sharp routes, good hands, not afraid, going up over the middle, even in practice, getting knocked around, hanging on to the football. He is definitely in the hunt in that slot position.
And Jeff Toole in the hunt to be the number 2 quarterback. Thad Lewis is their other QB. And he guns one into traffic, and that is incomplete. Intended for Hogan. Herzlich in the middle linebacker to bust it up. It'll be 2nd down.
Yeah, I think Perry Fuel's seen just about enough of this drive. He's starting to bring a little pressure off the edge. Coming right here, you'll see Hosley come in and throw a little pressure at him, give him a little different look, and not a very good read that time by Toole. This Bills offensive line, though, has been pretty impressive, and they're deep. They're much deeper than they've been.
And they're huge. 2nd and 10, and then, boy, you've got all kinds of contact, and some of it's even illegal. Zach Bowman and T.J. Graham get tied up. And the referees this year can communicate with each other.
Pass interference, number 31, defense. First down is the spot of the foul.
Communicate by mic and headset.
Well, Zach Bowman right up here is going to maybe get fooled by Graham a little bit, but that looked almost as much like Graham sort of slipped and tripped, and sometimes toughest of all calls for the officials there.
So it's 1st and goal now from the 8-yard line. And that pass with contact is deflected and intercepted. Cooper Taylor comes down with the ball. So Toole tried to jam that one in, bouncing off Graham's hands and picked off in the end zone.
Graham's going to get his hand in late on this one, or Bowman is, and now that's a pretty good play. That's when you make a penalty and give the other team a chance, come right back, make a play. That's the way to get it done.
Taylor, 2nd-year guy, who was their 5th-round pick in 2013 out of Richmond. And so the Giants now, with only 20 seconds remaining, the ball is at the 20-yard line. And they'll just go into a kneel-down formation, and they'll go to the locker room tied. You smell overtime?
Absolutely. Let's hope for it.
That's the end of the first half at Fawcett Stadium in Canton, Ohio, in the Hall of Fame game as the NFL 2014 gets underway. And the Giants and the Bills in a pretty cleanly played first half. Go to the locker room, knotted at 10-10.
Humility is, as I once learned, is not thinking less of yourself, but it's thinking of yourself less. And someone also taught me that most people will forget what you say, some will forget what you do, but no one will ever forget how you made them feel. I'm gonna do my best to make the Hall of Fame better because God has blessed me to be a part of it. Thank you.
Very classy man, Derek Brooks, part of those great defensive units under Monty Kiffin in Tampa Bay. Tony Dungy was there, and then John Gruden came in and they won a Super Bowl after the 02 season. And I mean, he played on the team with Warren Sapp, with John Lynch, and you can't forget about Mr. Brooks, and they certainly have it in Canton as the kickoff goes into the end zone by McManus. And speaking of Mr. Brooks, he's with Michelle.
Thank you, Al. Well, Derek, it was 1995. You're a rookie. You slide into those fabulous orange Buccaneers uniforms. Here you are 19 years later in a fabulous gold jacket. What does it feel like?
Oh, what a ride, Michelle, and it feels good. This jacket feels very, very comfortable, let me tell you. But to be part of a franchise turnaround, as you said, in 1995, we were, let's just say, not that good. But to go through what we went through to win a world championship and to be honored as an individual for this award in the ultimate team sport. I'm still trying to grasp my head around it, but as the days go by, I'm quite sure I'll get used to it.
You never missed a game in 14 seasons. You started all but the first 3 of your rookie year. How do you explain the durability?
Well, it takes a lot of hard work. You know, I really, really took care of my body, and I got in that cold tub a lot. You know, aches and pains, I treated them well. And at the same time, the trainers and coaches, they trusted me when I was knocked up. And a little thing is playing well while you're hurt helps it too. So I was able to make plays, and over the course of my career, I was blessed to go to work every Sunday.
Well, let's talk a little bit about 2002. You guys, it's a good year for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You win the Super Bowl. You have an interception in the game. The Bucs have the #1 overall defense, and you are crowned Defensive Player of the Year. So what is your fondest memory of that season?
Well, my fondest memory is this. With my personality, to be named the Defensive Player of the Year, the greatest of great that year, and our team win the championship, icing on the cake for me. Because a lot of years, players have great years, but their team doesn't. But for me, I hit a doubleheader, by having it. So that's what I was able to celebrate. And that year, Coach Gruden actually challenged me to be great, be historical, have a Hall of Fame year game, and cap it off in his own special way. So I was able to do that, and obviously our team winning was just icing on the cake for me.
And here you are in the gold jacket. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Al?
All right, thank you very much, Michelle, and a man who is about as happy as anybody in Canton, Ohio this weekend. When Derek Brooks is Bryce Brown takes it out to the 36-yard line, coming over from the Philadelphia Eagles, and he picks up a first down.
Oh, Bryce Brown's putting on a show out here. He's getting some help on the outside. Dominic Jones able to throw a few blocks for him, and we've seen the speed of Bryce Brown before in Philadelphia. We told you about some of his early games there and just dominant performances, and they really feel like the fumbling issues are a thing of the past, and he may be a major factor for the Bills.
Meanwhile, the new quarterback is Thad Lewis, who starts the second half. Lewis, in his second year, played 4 years of college football at Duke. And to the outside goes Mr. Brown for a gain of 7 yards.
Well, we talked about Derek Brooks, but he traveled with a guy named Warren Sapp. And these two guys together, I sat with Warren one time, and they started describing all the different games and details of what they did. And this 1-2 punch really took that team to the Super Bowl that year. Of course, John Lynch, a great player on the back end, coming down as well. But they worked together, and no one could ever quite figure it out who had which gap. It was a gap-controlled defense, and all of a sudden one or the other one was hitting somebody in the backfield, and they took home the Lombardi.
And there he is high-fiving as he walks down the receiving line. That's Evan Rodriguez, the fullback, who just carried the ball, setting up a 3rd and 1. Tom Coughlin, 67. He's the oldest coach in the league, 11 years now with the New York Giants. And, of course, he was the original coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars when they came into the National Football League in 1995. And on 3rd and 1, fighting for that first down, but coming up a little bit short, is Anthony Dixon. And the ball will be spotted at the 33-yard line.
I think they would love Anthony Dixon to become that short yardage specialist for Doug Marone's football team. They really need to be successful running the ball. They have a young quarterback they're trying to develop. They have a young offensive line. And so it's always so much easier to pass protect when you're moving forward and going with the play action pass. And actually, I think that's when E.J. Manuel's at his best.
So Bryce Brown is the running back as they line up to go for it on 4th down and 1 and give it to the fullback. And that's Rodriguez. So they, after they were 2nd and short, call 3 straight plays to a fullback. And this one results in a first down.
Yeah, it's amazing how many times that a quarterback's performance can be measured by how they're running the football. And for Thad Lewis now converting that first down, it gives him a chance to stay on the field and continue to impress. He's in a battle with Jeff Toole for that backup position, and they really have made no decisions at all on that yet.
From the 33. And Lewis is going to go deep, and it's going to be picked off in the end zone by Zach Bowman. Ball hanging. Marcus Easley was there, but Bowman had perfect position. And the former Chicago Bear is able to pick it off, and they'll start from the 20-yard line. Easy pickings. 10-10. This was a Friday night, big affair in downtown Canton, the Gold Jacket Dinner. Everybody getting their gold jackets, and of course the enshrinement ceremony took place last night right here. All right, now from the 20-yard line on first down, the ball is handed off to Peyton Hillis. Giants with that new offense. Kevin Gilbride retired at the end of last season, so Coughlin's been with Manning all of these years since Eli was picked in the draft. And there's John Mara, the co-owner of the Giants, of the Mara family, founding the Giants. And he said the offense was broken at the end of last year, and indeed they've gone out and made a sea change. And massive throws And coming back to make the catch, but the flag is down, is Preston Parker out of North Alabama. And we'll see what Walt Anderson has in mind here.
Pass interference, number 19, offense. 10-yard penalty, still second down.
So with Gilbride retiring, they went to the Mike McCarthy tree. Ben McAdoo has been with Mike in San Francisco and in Green Bay. And before that, in New Orleans, going all the way back to 2004. He was the tight ends coach in Green Bay for 6 seasons and then the quarterbacks coach. And, of course, that meant he worked hand in hand with one Aaron Rodgers. And he became available, and Tom Coughlin said, that's my man.
Yeah, but he hasn't called plays since high school, and he didn't call offensive plays there. He called defensive plays. So this is a big step up for him here tonight.
2nd and 19, and Peyton Hillis out to the 23. When a guy like that comes in, they always talk about what's been known for years, of course, since the Bill Walsh days, as the West Coast offense, which in effect basically means shorter drops, quicker passes, let the receivers run with the ball. Yards after catch is so important. And that would be a major change for the New York Giants.
Well, in fundamentals, he really teaches the fundamentals of the game. We were watching a couple of drills, for example, Eli Manning throwing passes with a towel tucked underneath his left arm to keep that tight. And that one should go under the left arm, too.
A flag is down as Preston Brown intercepts it. There are 2 flags, in fact, both lying at the 16-yard line. The officials this year, you see all of them wearing earpieces and mics so they can communicate with each other that way, or the old-fashioned way. Just have a little conversation.
There are 2 fouls on the play. Illegal hands to the face, number 96, defense. That penalty is declined. Personal foul, roughing the passer. Contact to the quarterback's helmet, number 96, defense. 15-yard penalty, first down.
Well, take the interception away, and the Giants will retain possession.
All right, let's take a look at Nassib here at the tail end of this play. He's going to take a shot right to the face mask, right to the helmet, and obviously that is going to be a very, very easy call against Charles.
And we'll move the ball out to the 38-yard line.
It's one of the new rule changes this year that you're going to not be allowed as an offensive or defensive lineman to strike quickly with the hand and pull it down. It used to be in the past, if you did it quickly and got back down, it was no foul. This season, it's a foul on either side of the ball. As long as that hand goes to the face of the other player, that is a penalty.
And up the middle, nice gain goes Peyton Hillis at 6'2" and 250, gain of 7.
You know, this is going to be a different style of offense for Eli Manning and these Giants quarterbacks this year, but they apparently are really buying into it. So much of it is about the footwork and how they do that. The big line is listen to your feet. Your feet are comfortable, you will throw comfortably. Here you see that family of plays being called in, and then the adjustments at the line of scrimmage.
On 2nd and 2, play action, but a lot of pressure is still put on.
Was he outside the pocket?
Yep,
was there anybody in the area? He was under pressure.
Intentional grounding, number 9, offense. 10-yard penalty. It's a loss of down. It's 3rd down.
I think Nassib, because he did a little mini bootleg on this one, thought he was outside the pocket, but the play fake took him so far to the right that by the time he came back to the left, he was standing right in the middle of the pocket.
And it's Jacquez Smith who comes in and forced the throw, resulting in a penalty and setting up what will be now a 3rd down. And 12. And cutting it back is Hillis looking for that first down, but it'll come up short. That's Duke Williams going low to stop him, and it will be 4th and a couple.
I'll tell you, Duke Williams has had a nice game. Remember the big hit he put on Andre Williams earlier in the game? He's battling with Denoris Searcy for that safety position. Maybe Jonathan Meeks in that battle a little bit as well. And Searcy was a guy that played a lot of the dime role up around the line of scrimmage, so it's entirely possible that Duke Williams could become more the free safety, and they leave Searcy in that very important role that he did so well a year ago.
Weatherford's first kick was a beauty, and his last one was blocked. And he gets this one away. And it's going to bounce at the goal line and into the end zone. Almost halfway through the third quarter in the Hall of Fame game. 10-10, the Giants and the Bills in Denver. Big changes with the Giants in the offseason, notable departures. Take a look at that. Those guys started in the Super Bowl after the 2011 season, and they're all gone now. And then the backs and receivers, Jacobs out. Next goes to Indianapolis. Bear Pasco takes his talents to Atlanta. Justin Tuck to Oakland. Joseph goes to Minnesota. Two key guys up front defensively. Ross went to Baltimore and is out for the year. He got hurt. Corey Webster was there for a long time. So Tom Coughlin has seen a lot of changes on both sides of the ball. And Jerry Reese is the guy who's pretty much been in charge of replacing those missing parts. From the 20-yard line on first down. And that is caught by Chris Gragg, the tight end over the middle, on a nice pass from Thad Lewis. Gain of 13, but now we have another flag. It was a very cleanly played first half, and now there's laundry all over the joint.
Number 28, defense. Penalty has declined. Result of the play, completed pass, first down.
That's Hosley.
Yeah, we have been told by the officials that the defense is going to have to adjust this year, that we are going to call fouls that have not been fouls in the past with illegal contact and holding and pick plays and all the different things that are around the line of scrimmage, and so far we're seeing a little bit more of that.
Ain't that wonderful for the wide receiver fraternity, huh?
Good out.
Bryce Brown makes the catch and takes it up to the 40-yard line. Cooper Taylor making the tackle.
You know, I really do respect the New York Giants, though, for recognizing that it wasn't an aberration. That they could have very easily said, oh, we won, 7 of the last 10 games, and we're back on track. And Tom Coughlin said, no, we knew we needed to make changes. Their offensive line, as sometimes is the case with really great offensive lines, they get old together, and you want to hang on to them. But it was time to move on, and they had the nerve to do it.
2nd and 4, and it's incomplete. Intended for Woods. Giants brought in 7 guys who played in the playoffs, including a couple from the Super Bowl as well. From Seattle, Thurmond and Kellen Davis, the tight end, have come over. From the world champions from Denver, you've got Ayers, who's hurt tonight, Rogers, Cromartie, and Holiday, who's also hurt and not playing tonight. In Kansas City, Demps and the guard Jeff Schwartz. So some high-quality guys have arrived. 3rd and 4, and that's caught on the run, and that's Woods into Giant territory, breaking tackles, and finally gang tackled out of bounds at the 36-yard line.
Here's a little bit of that pick action we talk about. You come in, pick off the guy in man coverage, and then there is simply nobody else there. Seattle Seahawks played that about as well as you could possibly play it in the Super Bowl against the Denver Broncos. Protection rock solid, and one of the real storylines for me out of this game is the depth of this offensive line. They have good players, 2 deep almost at every position now.
That was a gain of 26.
The only guy that's had a tough time up front tonight has been Cyrus Kwanjo, the right tackle.
And dropping the ball but recovering it is Thad Lewis. Mentioned before, it's a big offensive line. In fact, in terms of weight, second only to San Diego in terms of tonnage.
Never heard it phrased that way.
Yeah, well.
Cyrus Kwanjo, 2nd-round pick. And he had a tough time earlier in this one. There you see, just missed that block. But he had a little bit of a tough time with Demontre Moore. Gave up a sack, gave up another pressure, and questions are going to be about that left knee of his.
2nd and 14. Bryce Brown makes the catch. Tonnage, an old maritime term, as we go to Michelle.
Well, I'm with Eli Manning, and you expressed some excitement about finally seeing game action in this new offense, but Ben McAdoo's offense. How'd it go?
I thought it went well. I thought, we found completions. Obviously, I had the one mistake with the sack and the fumble, but besides that, that third possession, ran the ball well, found high percentage completions, and had a good drive to get a touchdown.
What have been the biggest adjustments for you in this offense?
Well, I think just the terminology, a lot of it, 10 years and saying certain things one way and then all of a sudden changing it up and really, saying the same thing but using different words and phrases. So but I think that's coming around. That's natural. Now it's just understanding what Coach McAdoo likes for certain coverages, getting to those plays and get everybody on the same page.
Eli, you're a two-time Super Bowl MVP, coming off a season where you had a career worst 27 interceptions, 7 fumbles. I'm sorry to repeat the numbers to you, but how did that sit with you all off-season?
No, it was tough. It was tough year last year, and we wanted to change that, and I want to change that, and that's what we're working on doing. And I feel good about the guys we have this year, this offense, and excited for a big year.
Eli, thanks so much.
Thanks a lot.
Al?
All right, thank you, Michelle. We'll see you a couple of times on Sunday Night Football this year. Now you have a 51-yard field goal attempt, but Buffalo is having
30-second timeout.
trouble getting the right personnel on the field unless they have to take a timeout with 4:12 remaining in the third.
Yeah, one of the things that Eli talked about was the verbiage of this new offense. It's a lot more words. And in the old offense under Kevin Gilbride, you essentially had numbers for protections and for formations. Now, instead of numbers, there are words that Eli is having to incorporate in all of the play calls. But yeah, he did have that one mistake, but he got the ball out of his hand quickly, made some nice sharp reads. You see the footwork, stepping up in the pocket, and that is the number one fundamental change that they're trying to make with Eli Manning, with that footwork and all the different aspects tied to different routes.
Here comes a 51-yard field goal attempt, and it is good. Dan Carpenter banging one through from long range to give the Bills the lead again by 3. Al Michaels, Chris Collinsworth, Michelle Tafoya.
You know what I'm thinking about with that shot.
Neil Armstrong.
Old buddy, yeah.
Yep, absolutely. Nice night in Canton, Ohio as Hopkins kicks off. And, well, just for a second, it looked like we might have our first kickoff return of the game, but we don't. 4:08 remaining, third quarter. The Bills 13 and the Giants 10.
I grew up in Aliceville, Alabama, the 7th of 8 kids, and the 4th and the biggest son to a wonderful woman. We may not have had much, but Mom always made sure we had everything we needed. You should take such pride in the family you raised. You're the real Hall of Famer.
What a rock he was.
Oh, he was so good.
Walter Jones, so many years on the left side of the offensive line in Seattle. I think we might see him in the building on opening night on September the 4th.
Never know. He might be the one raising the flag. That's always a little bit of the mystery.
Could be the 12th man. Here's Nassib now at quarterback at the 20-yard line. Nice play fake, and then the pass is caught. That's a gain of 16. Mario Manningham makes the catch, and we go to Michelle.
Well, I'm with Walter Jones, and your son Walterius presented you for induction yesterday. What was it like for the two of you to unveil that bus together?
It was amazing. I would think it was a situation that we've been together through this whole process. So to walk out on that stage with him, to witness that with him, it was amazing.
And then you gave a shout out to your daughter Walerius with the Instagram. You gave her the boost. What did it do to her page?
She got like 1,000 followers and right out the enshrinement. So it was something that I just wanted to give her because she wasn't, let's say, a part of the ceremony. My son been a part of the whole process. So it was something that I wanted to share with her, and she loved it.
Offensive linemen don't really rack up statistics per se. So when you look at your career, what to you was the highlight or the high point?
I think it's just being consistent. Every year just got better and better and looked at guys and studied guys and tried to be the best I could be at what I was doing.
You know, last February must have been a lot of fun for you because you find out you're going into the Hall of Fame. The next day, the Seahawks win their first ever Super Bowl. What stands out? What's the most fond memory of that weekend?
Just witnessing it, you know, being a part of that, getting a phone call, and then being able to share it with the fans and the 12th man, and then to see the Seahawks winning the Super Bowl, that was amazing. And, you know, it was a feeling because my son was there to share that with me, and so it was just a great feeling.
You had a rather unique way of working out. What got you started in pushing trucks?
I think I have to give a shout out to my high school coach. You know, we didn't have the weight equipment when we was going through high school, so that's something that we did to do squats when we was working out. So it was something when I was going through my contract stuff that I wanted to do. So I just started doing it, and fans got a whiff of it, and it went viral. And it was just something I did just to get in shape and get ready for the season.
Al, I think it went viral even before there was such a thing as viral.
I think, Michelle, a lot of people call Walter instead of AAA these days. Walter Jones. 2nd down and 6. This is Kendall Gaskins. Stopped at the line of scrimmage.
You know, I always thought I played with one of the greatest athletes ever to play left tackle in Anthony Munoz, but this guy, Walter Jones, was pretty close. A huge man, but watch his feet. He could stay in front of the best pass rushers that the game had to offer and do it with ease. He just had this power about him, but if you just focus in on his feet, watch the way he finishes this play. How many people on the offensive line can make a block like that running with an outside pass rusher?
How do you think that defender enjoyed the film session after that game?
There was a lot of laughing, I can promise you that.
Here's Kendall Gaskins over the right side again. A minute and 40 to go in the third.
You know, one thing that I have enjoyed watching with the Giants here tonight is exactly what Tom Coughlin was looking for, to get back to New York Giants power football and to try and get these big backs unleashed. You know, Rashad Jennings and Peyton Hillis and Andre Williams, probably the guys that are going to carry the load this year. And those guys are big physical presences that are going to be able to take over games in the fourth quarter. And maybe that's been missing the last few years.
3rd and a long 3. Massive throws, and it's incomplete. Good coverage on the outside. Here's Smith putting the heat on again. It's 4th down.
You know, the other interesting part of this Giants offense is who's going to play tight end. And we haven't really talked about that very much. I'd have to say Larry Donnell is probably the front runner in this competition. Adrian Robinson, if he were just a little more consistent, maybe in Eli's mind, could be the role because he is an excellent athlete, but right now Donnell seems to be the best option.
And Daniel Fells with a sprained knee tonight, so he won't return. We'll be calling Mark Bavaro during the week. Weatherford's kick. It's Graham. Fielding at the 9. And running it back out to about the 21. Under a minute remaining in the third quarter in the Hall of Fame game, with the Bills leading the Giants by 3. Doug Marrone. If you can make it there, you can make it anywhere in New York, New York. Born in New York, Lombardi, Sherman, Ritigliano, Rich Kotite, all born in Brooklyn. Dan Henning in the Bronx. Al Groh, who coached the Jets in 2000 in Manhattan, and Doug Marrone, a Bronx Bomber.
What a good-natured guy, too.
Yeah.
He came in and started busting my chops in the first 15 seconds that I was in there. I'm like, I don't even know you that well, and you came in just going after. It was very, very funny. Kind of reminds you a little bit in some ways of a John Madden kind of personality. Just you feel like you know him the minute you meet him, and his players really love him. You can tell that.
He's already got his coaching tree started because he brings in a guy last year to be his defensive coordinator who winds up as the head coach of the Cleveland Browns this year.
Absolutely.
2nd down and 8.
But he still is very actively involved as an offensive line coach. We were at practice, and I was, usually you see the head coach over in the middle of the field sort of watching everything. He was the line coach. He was taking them through all the drills. He was telling them specifics on where to set that foot and what to do, and so he's hands-on.
Mike Pettin to button it up, the head coach of the Cleveland Browns. We reached the end of the third. 13-10 Buffalo, and Sunday Night Football back after these messages.
Hall of Famers, we die empty. See, we left it on the field. I don't want to play anymore. To the current players, it's your turn. Your career right now is like wet cement. My cement is already dry, so are ours. We put our handprints in it. It's your turn. It's wet. You do what you're supposed to do.
Aeneas Williams. Boy, he was a lot of fun to watch. Michelle will get him in a second. Al Michaels, Chris Collinsworth, Michelle Tafoya starting the final quarter. And on a 3rd and 9, getting up to the 30 with the ball loose at the 30-yard line. And let's see as they uncover each side saying, we've got it. What else is new? And it will be Buffalo ball at the bottom of the pile. So it'll be 4th down right now.
Young buck Nat Burhay is going to come up with a big hit here at the end of the play, and they said that's really his specialty. Maybe not a great cover guy, but you get him involved in the running game and get him tackling, he knocks people around, and you saw it there.
Jake Dombrowski is the punter. He's trying to win a job maybe somewhere else because Brian Moorman is solidly entrenched as the incumbent. And this kick is fielded at the 26-yard line by Preston Parker. Out of bounds at the 31 with Aeneas Williams right now. Here's Michelle.
Yes, Al, he was the first player drafted by the Arizona Cardinals to be enshrined here in Canton. They were the Phoenix Cardinals back then. But what does that distinction mean to you?
Well, first of all, it means so much because going into the Hall of Fame, being on a lot of teams that didn't have a whole lot of success, really says a lot about the selection committee. To be able to, without bias, select a guy based on merit that was also on many bad teams.
You know, when you were a rookie, you reached out to a lot of respected veterans to ask for their advice about their approach to playing in the NFL. What kind of impact did those conversations have on you?
It was huge because once I decided I wanted to be one of the best to ever play in the game, I wanted to find out how they thought, because in order to change, in order to be at that level, you have to have a certain mindset, and that's what a lot of the guys, particularly guys like Gilbert, Kenny Houston, Michael Haynes, and some Maurice Hurst, Kevin Lewis, some of those guys.
And so back in the spring now, leaping forward, you spoke to this year's rookie class and you challenged them to think about what they would want people to say and write about them when their career was over. So now how would you answer that question today?
I would say the cement is dry and I want it to be a complete player. I want to hear comments like, he is just as good off the field as he is on the field. I never wanted to separate those things because I thought excellence in personal life and on the field would always benefit me and my family.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Michelle.
Al.
All right, thank you, Michelle. And that pass is hauled in by Corey Washington, winning the battle to grab it and going 73 yards for a touchdown to give the Giants the lead.
Nice play by Corey Washington. Just goes up and outfights Michael Carter for the ball. He really got behind him pretty far here. Nassib threw it as far as he possibly could. And then sometimes as a receiver, you just have to go win that battle. You do, and you put 6 points on the board. Offensive line up front. We've talked about the Bills, their ability to get pressure on the quarterback. A little bootleg action fooled everybody. That's nice for Ryan Nassib. He needed one of those.
73 yards. Carter gets beat. Again, the extra point experiment. Line of scrimmage 15, so it's a 33-yard boot. And the kick by Josh Brown is good. 13-18 remaining in the fourth quarter as the Giants take the lead, 17-13. Well, everybody will be keeping an eye on that guy, Sammy Watkins, during the season. Remember, the Buffalo Bills traded up with Cleveland to get him in the number 4 position, and it cost them their first-round pick this year and next year as well, going to Cleveland, and first and fourth-round picks in 15. So he came at a very high price, but had a fantastic career at Clemson. And if he's the real deal, well, nobody will be happier than one E.J. Manuel.
I'm going to be really surprised if he's not the real deal. We'll get into some of the things he does well.
And will we have our first kickoff return of the night? No, we will not. Speaking of one Samuel Watkins, here he is.
Oh, Sammy Watkins is the complete package in so many ways. He's a guy that is dangerous on all those little slip screen plays. Great runner after the catch. It looks like a fullback about half the times. I've seen highlights of him just run over defensive backs and run through them. He looks like he used to play fullback somewhere along the way. But most fullbacks don't run like this. Once he gets in the open field, absolutely gone. 62 offers coming out of high school. And he was a guy that was a true freshman All-American. There have only been 3 others of those: Herschel Walker, Marshall Faulk, and Adrian Peterson. You're on that list, you are legitimate.
Who are those guys?
Never heard of them.
Ronnie Wingo, there it is right there. First team All-America as first-year freshman. You always hear about redshirt freshmen. Those guys were true freshmen coming out of high school and making first team All-America. 2nd and 7. And a big hole over the right side, and a 10-yard gain here for Ronnie Wingo. Free agent out of Arkansas.
Now, I tell you one thing, I got a chance to meet with both E.J. Manuel and Sammy Watkins, and 2 of the nicest young men that you'll meet. Everything was yes, sir, no, sir. He was the first one to show up at the meeting, and you asked Doug Marrone about him, and I said, is he living up to expectations? He said he's exceeding expectations. He has been fantastic around here.
Until they get to know you. Pass is caught, a gain of 10 on the outside. As Kevin Elliott makes the catch.
Here we go on the outside, the number 2 overall pick, Cyrus Kouandjio out of Alabama, very highly thought of. Some questions about his knee. Would that hold up? Nice job pass protection there.
He's getting the full workload tonight. And over on the left side goes Ronnie Wingo.
And we've seen both these tackles in a lot of situations. Chantrell Henderson, in my mind, had a tremendous game working against Jason Pierre-Paul. Really sort of pinned him in all night. Kouandjio had a little bit tougher time against Demontre Moore on the other side. But, you know, they're young, they're learning. This is their first experience in the NFL, and 4 more preseason games to go.
2nd and 8, rolling out, throwing on the run, and the pass is taken out of bounds.
Let's take a look. Start with Chantrell Henderson on the outside. This is a guy that was one of the absolute top recruits in the nation coming out of high school and fell all the way to a 7th-round pick. So it's not a matter of physical ability. On the other side, Cyrus Kouandjio got beat 2 times in a row one time. Gave up the sack there to Demontre Moore and came right back and got beat on the next play as well with the same move.
3rd and 8 from the 45. A lot of time, but then all of a sudden everything breaks down. The secondary does its work, and Kerry Wynn, a rookie from Richmond. Let's take a look at Kouandjio again. Wynn got the sack.
Wynn's working against him. Did okay in the beginning, but as Lewis started to scramble, then it was over. That wasn't quite as bad. It's not as bad when you get beat around the inside. You get beat on that inside path, though. Sacks happen in a hurry.
Jake Dombrowski to punt. You saw Preston Parker dropping back to return the kick. A wobbly duck, but fairly decent distance. Fielded at the 9-yard line. Parker trying to get around the corner and can't. Taken down at the 22-yard line. 10:27 remaining in the 4th. Giants by 4. Curtis Painter comes in at quarterback. Michael Cox is the running back here at the 22-yard line. And not the most glorious beginning as Cox gets taken down by Landon Cone.
It looks like Landon Cone's had a pretty nice game out here so far. That's about the 3rd or 4th play that I've seen him made in this game. Let's see if we can pick him up. I think it's right here. Working against John Sullen, gets right off to the inside, and as a running back, you prefer not to see that.
5-yard tackle for loss. Michael Cox now taking it up to the 26-yard line. We talked about that giant running back situation before, and David Wilson's future is in doubt. They're going to run some tests on him this week, but nobody seems to be too thrilled about the way it looks right now. And you saw Andre Brown tonight or Andre Williams tonight. He can be something very, very special. Jennings comes over from Oakland. Speaking of Andre Brown, he's gone. He was with the Giants. He was the leading rusher last year. And they give it to Cox, and Cox is trying to win a spot high up on that depth chart for a first down here. And we go to Michelle.
Well, I'm with E.J. Manuel. Finally, you get some game action. How did it go out there?
It felt good. It was pretty short. Had 2 drives. I had one, full-length drive and another drive in the red zone. So, it felt good to get my feet wet a little bit.
Starting your second season now, how would you compare yourself now as a player to the guy who was a rookie?
A lot more confident. That's the biggest thing, having confidence in myself. Also, my teammates having confidence in me, knowing that I can get the job done. And we've had, I think, 10 or 11 good, great practices up until this game, so we just have to continue to build.
And what areas of improvement are you targeting specifically?
Right. Just overall quarterback play, not necessarily the physical, but more the mental. Understanding coverage is more, just preparing each and every day, even for our own defense. We're trying to look at our defense as a game each day in practice, so I'm just trying to take each day to get better.
Had to be exciting to hear that you drafted Sammy Watkins. So what have you seen from him so far that maybe you didn't expect?
I expected everything. Sam is a great player. He's a great guy as well. He works extremely hard off the field. And, when you have a player that has so much talent, you sometimes wouldn't expect him to do what he does. But off the field, he's a workaholic. He stays back and does extra routes with me all the time. So he and I are going to have, I think, a lot of potential heading forward.
Hey, good luck with the season.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks, EJ. Al?
All right, thank you, Michelle. Well, while you were talking to EJ, we saw Landon Cohen again with another tackle for loss. And Chris, you were talking about EJ Manuel telling us the other day he entered school and majored in biomedical engineering.
Yeah, he said that didn't last long.
Yeah, right. And he got a degree in mass communications.
Yeah, I remember I was pre-med once, too. That didn't last long either. But he was a guy that was some athlete. Dunked a basketball at age 13. But he was sort of one of those, he grew up with a little bit of a Bills fan because Bruce Smith was a family friend from Virginia, and he's known him since he was 5 years old. He said he got off the airplane, and first guy that met me coming off the airplane was Jim Kelly. So they made him feel very welcome right off the bat in Buffalo.
Yeah, from the Hampton Roads area. In Virginia, there's Painter, who was the number 2 to Manning last year. Of course, Eli's so durable. Though he did get hurt last year at the end of the first half in the final game of the season after the Giants ran out of the race. And this year, they hope that Nassib can win that number 2 spot. Flips the ball back to Cox. And he gets spun down as he reaches the line of scrimmage by Ty Powell.
Now, one of the things that E.J. Manuel was talking to us about is he wants to tighten up his throwing motion a little bit. Here he is last year. A little bit of a loop around, nothing too bad. Let's see what it looks like so far tonight. Much quicker delivery. You can see just driving it up and out. And those are some of the fundamentals that he's working on.
Started opening day last year as a rookie. That was after Kevin Cobb had gone to camp, but he got hurt and he was gone. And Painter throws, and the ball is taken in Buffalo territory, but a little bit short of the first down as Travis Harvey makes the catch.
I'll tell you, I was really happy to see Mario Manningham make a catch out here in this game tonight. I know he's still struggling coming back from some of those knee injuries and such, but what a thrill he gave us in that Super Bowl, huh? That catch along the sideline and trying to battle his way back from an injury or two, and we wish him well.
Well, nothing will ever top David Tyree in 07, but the next on that list for any Giant fan would be that Manningham catch as the first down is picked up here.
It's going to be an interesting battle at wide receiver for the New York Giants. They really need somebody to step up. Of course, Victor Cruz is well entrenched, and Ruben Randall is a guy that I think is going to like this offense a little better. It doesn't have all the option routes to it. It's just going to be call the route, run the route, not a lot of decisions to make running down the field. Odell Beckham really hasn't practiced because of the hamstring, their number 1 pick, and then Jarrell Jernigan, who finished so well a season ago the last 3 games, in the mix. But those 4 really have to get it done.
Here's Cox to the outside. We're under 5 minutes to play. And he gets brought down Landon Cone, helps to finish him off.
Landon's working hard out there.
Yeah, he's paying a price right now, too.
Yeah, he is. We'll keep everything above the waist and for this shot for a little while, but he has been making plays left and right out there.
Cone's been around, 5th year in the league. Dallas last year.
Over. Here we go. Alpha. That was hot.
Second and 10. Getting flipped around like a helicopter is Cox at the line of scrimmage. Bobby Filder was the guy right there.
One of the guys to keep an eye on here, playing the center position, Weston Richburg. He is their 2nd-round draft pick. I don't think he's going to end up playing center this year, gaining some experience. That was a nice block. If he plays this year, I think it's more likely he'll play guard. J.D. Walton, the veteran player, Eli just loves the way that he takes control of the offense up front, makes all the line calls with this new offense, takes a lot of the pressure off of him, and I'd be surprised if J.D. Walton wasn't the starting center.
The blitz is picked up and Painter throws, but it'll be short of the first down. Marcus Harris making the tackle. It'll be 4th down. And with the clock under 3 minutes when the next play is run off, the Giants sending in their punting unit.
Tom Coughlin playing to win here.
Yep.
This is what you do. You've got more than a field goal lead. Kick it away and let your defense win it.
And that's quintessential Tom. He doesn't care whether it's a scrimmage or the end of the Super Bowl. Quite in contrast to the way Marv Levy used to approach preseason when he was the head coach of the Bills at the 15-yard line. He looked at preseason with disdain, but he's in the Hall of Fame. So what do we know? 2:35 to go.
They told me that I only had 10 minutes up here, but let me start off by telling you I've waited almost 30 years to get to this podium, so don't rush me, guys. I'm gonna be here for a minute.
Claude Humphrey. Michelle will chat with him in a sec. 171 games. Wound up playing with Dick Vermeil at the end of his career. Dick was here last night to watch Claude Humphrey go into the Hall of Fame.
Jerry Glanville and the Brits Blitz.
Sure.
They were pretty darn good in Atlanta.
From the 15-yard line with his throws, and that's a gain of 7. Caught by Wingo. Here's Michelle.
Well, Claude, it's been a long time coming. You were eligible 29 years. So after all that time, what did it feel like to finally slip on the jacket?
It was great. It was great. I mean, it's an experience that everybody should experience. But, you know, everybody's not a football player. But, hey, it's a great experience. Man, I've been going nonstop since I got here.
And even tonight, you're out on the field at halftime because Tennessee State, your alma mater, the marching band was playing out there. You're in the middle of it. What'd you think of that tribute to you?
Well, I was excited once I found out about it. Richard Denton was out there with me, and we escorted the president, Dr. Glenda Glover, out on the field, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed being. Dr. Glover's a great person, and I enjoy being around him.
Congratulations on everything.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Al.
Okay, thank you, Michelle. And that will take us to the 2-minute warning, and there was the scene along with Richard Dent at halftime. 2 minutes to go. Giants by 4 in Canton. Took place on Friday night. Commissioner Goodell was here on hand unveiling a birth of the NFL by the artist Michael Clapper. And on 1st and 10, pass is batted and incomplete. It'll be 2nd down and 10 with the Giants up by 4.
That was a bizarre play. It looked like he threw the ball in and it hit one of the offensive linemen. I think it was Edon Kaufman. And the ball bounced straight up in the air and was very nearly intercepted. He was trying to throw it away, caught his heel.
Lewis is 9 out of 14 for 81 yards. Toole trying to win that number 2 job was 12 of 17 for 74. And down he goes and the ball is loose. And Buffalo will recover, but with a huge loss. That was Jordan Stanton, a rookie from James Madison, who came in and knocked the football away. So the ball is recovered, but it is going to be 3rd down and 30 after what would amount to be a 20-yard sack.
Edon Kaufman once again in the spotlight here, going to get beat right around the edge. Got his hands down, and then it was no chance.
And a timeout is taken here before a 3rd down and 30. Third and 30. And that's caught by Chris Gregg. So on 3rd and 30, they pick up just 7, setting up a 4th and 23 or 24. And
this is when the play caller starts looking around saying, anybody got any ideas?
Sure.
Anybody got any of those 4th and 25 thoughts here?
Yeah, rev up the engines. And may have been across the line of scrimmage. Very, very close.
I think they would have picked it up if he makes the catch.
I don't know, because it was funny. One of the officials at the line of scrimmage looked like he was ready to reach into his.
Remember, if any part of the foot or anything is behind that red line, nope, he's way over the line.
He's way over.
So it wouldn't have mattered anyway.
Yeah. I thought with the naked eye, there was no question about that. Pass is incomplete. And then the New York Giants can just run out the clock.
And if you're wondering on that fumble whether or not it was a forward pass or not, it was confirmed as a fumble. They looked at it during the timeout and confirmed that the officials got it right.
What is hot? And so the Giants now can just run out the clock.
You playing fantasy football this year?
You know, I'm not, but I'm paying attention to it. I got to say, it's pretty fascinating.
I think Michelle might be able to get you.
What do you mean? Get me what?
In fantasy football. We ought to have a little league.
What is hot? Like we don't have enough to do, right?
This is cut into your golf game.
Well, no, we'd start rooting on the air, and that's not a very good thing to do.
Okay.
But who would be your number 1 draft choice?
Who would be my number 1 draft pick? I think I would probably take LaShawn McCoy.
I might take him too. Jamal Charles would be another guy that you would think about.
Boy, there's a lot of pressure on that one. Fired that baby out. I was like,
come up with something. Whatever, I know it. Barry Sanders. This will be the final play of the game. For a Hall of Fame game, and we have seen a few of these through the years. This wasn't poorly played. Actually, pretty good for the opening salvo. As the Giants win it by a score of 17-13. A couple of Syracuse guys right there. That's where Tom went to school and was an assistant coach for many years. Born in upstate New York, Sammy Watkins, and everybody will be keeping an eye on him as this season progresses. Victor Cruz, didn't see him at all tonight, basically involved in any of the action, but you know he'll be there on opening day when it all matters. And it's 17-13, our final score. Back to Canton after this.